Welcome back to the Fan House Podcast, people. I am Javon. I'm there with Gunii. And today we're gonna have a reasoning with Gunii, is it me? We can't even call it no one on one anymore because them are there regular, is it? So it's going to be a reasoning with Gunii, kind of catch up on the season so far. Before we get started, people, I just wanted to apologize for the lack of content in the last week. I was under the weather and my microphone went down. As you can see, I had to get a new mic. And yeah, but we're there now, set up ready, and we are move. Just remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. There will not be a match review for Shamrock Rovers because honestly, if we not beat Shamrock Rovers, bro, we already qualified. I'm not gonna. No, it's not worth it. You know.
Yeah.
But match preview and review will be there for Everton, and another episode of the Sideline View will be dropping next week. People, I have an episode recorded for the Sideline View for the week that just passed, but my microphone sounded like I was a transformer, right? And I'm not talking the transformer on the light way. I mean, I talk transformer from the Monday age of an Ultron, not even Ultron. I didn't even know metaphor, but yeah, I was a transformer from the movies. Like Michael Bay hired me and shit. So it was very horrible and I just could not put it out. Oh, and it was a great episode on top of that as well. I might put out snippets where I'm not talking, but we'll see how that go. But Gunii, what go on?
Yo, man, thank you for having me on your platform. Listen, people, two things. First and foremost, make sure you do subscribe to Javon's channel. Yeah, we're putting in the work, quality content as well. Love having interviews with Javon, so make sure you subscribe. You get me, and smash the like button as well. Another thing, people, I have to be honest. I have to be honest, and I'm gonna give Javon a public apology. I was supposed to record yesterday, but due to technical difficulties, it was my fault. So listen, I apologize from my heart, my brother. I apologize I couldn't make it, but we are here now. Let's talk Chelsea, my guy. Let's go. I'm all good
You,
otherwise. Let's go.
you're good, bro. You're good, bro. You even tried to re-record the episode of the sideline
Yeah.
view and everything just, bro. When it rains, it pours. But let's get
Yeah.
into it. Chelsea, Gunii, you said some things in the past about this squad that has not aged well. And I kind of wish I had Robert here because Robert has said some things that aged well. But we'll get you an episode with Robert sometime next week.
Yeah, yeah.
So you guys can kind of butt heads why if you butt part. But last season, I remember you popped up on I think Matisse's stream on one of the streams, and you said, yes, this was Matisse's stream. You said a lot of them. None of these players, and I quote, are good enough. And them time they me did rate Mudryk, you know, because Mudryk would do something out of the dross. They were doing something. I thought Jackson was developing nicely last season. Cole Palmer was Cole Palmer. And you said sell a lot of them barring Cole Palmer. Now that you see it as clear as day, and I wish Lewis was here as well. Now that it's clear as day, it's Poch tax. What do you have to say in regards to your comments back then and now?
Okay, so I will say this. I said sell them all except 5 players. I believe those players were Cole Palmer, Caicedo, Lavia, Reece James, and there was one other. I
Was it
can't remember
Enzo?
who. No, it definitely wasn't Enzo. It
Damn.
definitely wasn't Enzo.
Me know sign of Mudryk, so me even gonna ask.
But it was somebody. It was someone. But even still, look.
Colwell?
I,
Was it Colwell?
no, Colwell was on the debatable side, but I was more towards at that time. I was more towards getting
Was it
someone
no,
better
me
than
know you
him.
never I know you didn't rate Jackson. Who it's be at this point. And
But
Kunku.
and I said keeping Kunku. Those were the
Yeah.
five. That's
Yeah,
right. Those were the
Kunku.
five. I said the rest of them. I couldn't care if you got rid. I couldn't care
Mm-hmm.
if you got rid. No, I think Malo Gusto was in there too, so that's 6. I'll throw him
Gusto.
in there.
Gusto. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
Because
that
Gusto was our third best player last season.
Yeah, so I'll say that's 6. I'll say the rest of them can go, and obviously I'm here. I'm happy to eat humble pie because if I'm eating humble pie, that means the squad are doing very well, and clearly they are. And the boys have turned it round. And do you know what? I still, I stand on a lot of the things I said, although I can also accept that I've been proved wrong by many players. Cucurella definitely being one of them. Nico Jackson, listen, praise has to be given where it's due, and he definitely deserves it as well. 100%. His form since then to now has done a complete 180 turn of a completely different direction, positive direction, and that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. And on top of that, when you're watching something that you love so much just crumble right in front of your eyes and you've got no control over it, the emotions sometimes get the better of me as well.
Mhm.
So like I cuss, I say things in frustration and whatnot. Although a lot of the things I do stand by at the time, but there were also things that came from the emotional side of me. I'm just tired of not looking
Mhm.
forward to watching football every single week. Just wanting my Chelsea back to competing level and so on and so forth. So that's where a lot of the frustration came from. But nonetheless, I'm willing to eat humble pie. I'm happy to eat humble pie. And I've always said, if these guys prove me wrong, I'm happy to be in the mud because that means Chelsea are doing well. And that's the one common cause that we all have. Even if we all don't get along, that's the one common cause you all have. We might have a different path in how we're going to get into that direction, into the promised land, but we still want to get to the promised land in terms of winning trophies. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, and it's definitely understandable, but um, where I didn't agree with it is, you see, because we kind of rotated and shifted the entire squad from to a whole, because we went into a whole new philosophy. I didn't necessarily agree with the philosophy at the time, but given
Hmm.
that this was a road that we were going down and none of us would have had control in changing it, I still wanted to see what these players would be like under a manager that would give them a structure and a system that would have them thinking less, that would actually coach these quote unquote kids at the time, and grow and develop the youth squad, a very young squad, not the youth squad, you know. And Enzo Maresca came in and ticked those boxes, and you can see the upturn in performances. Granted, Poch does get a bit of credit for the 5 game turnaround to
Hmm.
kind of build the momentum. So all Maresca had to do was come in, implemented tactics, which is not an easy job, but he kind of had a momentum to pick up off of versus
Yeah.
picking up the team that was completely on the floor. So with that being said, that's where I stood. I You could see that there's some people that needed a lot of improvement, but I genuinely didn't give up on anyone because that was just hoofball tactics last year, bro. Like
Yeah.
with the modern age football, you need some form of or at least a base where the players can revert to.
100%, 100%, my bro. And look, a lot of I did have my fair bit to say about Pochettino as well. I said I got to a stage where I was actively shouting out the manager needs to go. He's not good enough. Tactically, he's let us down. But then also as well, there's also been times where during games I can't really blame the manager. Like opportunities in semi-finals, finals where Nico Jackson has missed opportunities, Raheem Sterling has missed opportunities, or Chilwell's not squaring it. That could take us to a final that was very, very winnable, by the way. Those are things
Mhm.
that were also vindications of my criticism of
Yeah,
certain players. You know what I'm saying? However, I hear what you're saying though. The bigger picture ultimately does come down to the manager too. And the drastic
yeah,
change in performances and where we are now is a vindication to you guys that it was Poch tax 100%.
because if you look at it, bro, you see, you don't just appear in a final, right? There is a
Yeah,
reason why I'm saying this, and I'm going to track it. You don't just appear in a final. You have to play games to get to a final. And you playing games to get to a final means you're working with a team from time, right? Before the final.
yeah,
So all those moments leading up to the final where people are not squaring it, where people are doing backheel shots at goal, that would have festered from not having a stringent not from having stringent tactics from early on in the season. What do I mean by that? I simply mean if you set from day one, say, yo, bad man, when you're in a better position, when someone is in a better position, you square the ball. When you're in front of goal, you don't fluff around with it, no backheel with it. If you can't turn and shoot, you lay it off for the better person that's on the oncoming runner to shoot.
hmm
You genuinely believe that if these things were mitigated early on in the season, we would have seen that final we saw last season? No. So even those missed chances, I'm still blaming on Poch. Because you wouldn't, I promise you would not see none of that this season if we get to a final. I'm telling you now. I'm putting hand on heart for that. You're not seeing none of these things when you get to a final.
Do you
Listen,
think
it's different. It's different if we put you in that position and you just don't have the quality to convert versus you fluffing around and doing nonsense in front of the goal.
So my question to you would be, do you think those missed chances were also down to levels of confidence at the time, based on how
What?
we're playing, or because I'm trying to understand, because there's certain opportunities, especially with Nico Jackson, where I felt, bro, like you could have just shot there first time instead of taking that touch and narrowing the angle for yourself and put the ball in the back of the net. It's just small intangibles like that I'm talking about that I can't necessarily blame on the manager.
Yeah,
However,
and
I hear what you're saying, because this season, I feel if you presented Nico with those chances now, more time out of 10, he's going to score those chances. But does
no,
that
and
mean, but go on, sorry, go ahead.
I'm not. So there's a learning curve to all of this. There's context and phases to all of this, right? So
Uh-huh.
see those chances with Nico, I get it. You're going to miss some, and you're going to convert some. But the conversion rate to miss chances last year was abysmal compared to what it
Facts.
should be from someone that's developing. Because if you were supposed to look at the side by side comparison and development rate,
Yeah.
it skyrocketed. And it shouldn't have been that big of a jump. It should have been, obviously, there's
Okay,
going to be
I
an improvement.
understand. Okay, I
You
see
get
what
what
you're
I'm saying?
saying now. Yeah. So the
Of course, he's going to
development, so
develop.
the development curve with Pochettino, it shouldn't, it's not what it should have been, because now we're seeing what it should be with Maresca, sort of thing.
Correct. And then when
Right,
you
I
compare the
see. I
side by
feel you.
side comparison, it looks like it's a major jump.
It's
Credit to
parabolic.
Maresca.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah,
parabolic.
yeah, yeah. It shouldn't have been that a jump year in year out. Obviously, there's going to be progression, but it
Uh
just
huh.
says to me that Poch wasn't doing the best job he could have done development wise. Because guess what? It's different now because the way Maresca sets up the system, he puts you in those positions, and
Yeah.
then you can more focus on the finishing than getting into the position. That's the difference between
Yeah.
us and last season. Last season, you saw Jackson taking the ball and just going for it, which I loved, by the way, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when he was in those positions, he wasn't necessarily his finishing wasn't necessarily focused, and he would overthink a lot. He still overthinks now,
Mm-hmm.
but he has a better mindset to get back into the position to finish and rectify his missed chances, i.e., the Brentford game. Last
Yes.
season, what stood out to me was the time against City in the semi final, where he
Yeah.
rounds the keeper and could have slammed it with the left
That's
foot.
what I'm talking about.
Bro,
Mm-hmm.
that's down to a systematic issue. I really doubt that's down to Jackson. Because systematic issue meaning, why wasn't Pochettino focusing on his finishing? Like, why wasn't he focusing on his one-on-one? It's glaring obvious that you don't need to focus so much on his link-up play last season,
Yeah. Yeah.
but more so on his finishing.
Yeah.
So now when Maresca steps through the door and sees, okay, you're damn near great at everything else, let me tighten up your hold-up play just a bit. Let me tighten up. Um, let me work and let's work on your finishing ability heading wise, and let's work on your finishing overall. And we see what we're getting this season. This man has 9 goals converted. He has one of the best. He has a better conversion rate than most people in the league right now.
Yeah. Facts.
So
Facts.
you're telling me if he didn't have a coach last season that would have focused on his deficiencies to a greater extent, he wouldn't have been better? Some of
Well,
those chances he wouldn't have converted?
how can I argue that? Because the proof is in the pudding on your side. Because it's like you said, the jump from Pochettino to Maresca has been parabolic, and usually things like that don't happen. So that really, I hear what you're saying. That is a bit of a vindication, or a big vindication of how bad Pochettino actually was in terms of development. And we also saw that something that I now see is like the um just players playing out of their positions. And this is not even, Nico was one of the luckier ones, if we're being
Mm.
honest, to kind of hold down a position. But then you had others like, Levi Colwill and so on and so forth, that was just deputizing in positions that didn't make sense. It was just, it was just
But,
a mess. It was definitely just a mess, and that's definitely down to the manager too.
but man, me can show you another comparison. Levi Cole played as a left back last season, right?
Yeah, shocking, innit? Yeah,
Yeah, right.
shocking
Very,
decision.
very shocking. This season, when we convert to a back three and Kukurea inverts, who's the left sided at the start of the season? Who was the left sided centre back who had to get into wide positions to defend? Wasn't it Levi Colwill? He still wasn't that bad. He still wasn't as bad as last
Yeah,
season.
you make a good point. Yeah, yeah, but I just think
Is
you see, my thing is with Colwell is having to it's that recovery pace or lack of. I think that's what killed
yeah,
him,
yeah.
as to be playing on those flanks continually. But now that he's got Cucurella as well, so and they both understand their positioning. One goes sometimes it's a case of one inverts inside. Well, Cucurella inverts inside. Colwell knows to keep an eye on that
Step out.
area.
Yeah,
If Colwell steps a bit far forward, Cucurella does have the recovery pace to help him out or whatever. So it works a
mhm.
lot better. I hear you, bro. I hear it.
Yeah, bro. And I'm not gonna turn this reasoning into just a patch revisionism and what he could have done well. I'm just saying, bro, like when you have a manager that actually coaches and actually tries to work on the deficiencies that some of these players have in the squad, it's glaring to see that hey, that man was just a scrub
Ah.
and a Satanist from hell, as,
Mhm.
as my boy Lewis would say. But yeah, moving on. Let's talk about the Maresca's positive effect and
Yeah.
what we've seen. What are your thoughts on Maresca so far in terms of game management and in-game tactical tweaks?
Massively exceeded expectation of everybody, and I include the people that thought he was going to do well, because nobody at this point in the season would think that we'd be in the position that we're in, and that's massive credit to Maresca. Now, with Maresca, when we hired him, I was of the opinion of this is an unknown manager coming from the championship, but you know what? Let's just see. I'm not gonna come out. I'm not gonna complain. I'm gonna get behind the manager and see how he does. Every manager deserves their chance. I'm not gonna be shouting manager out this, that, and the other before he's even touched the side of Stamford Bridge. That's just nonsensical. You don't do that. So I'm glad I took that opinion, and gave him his time. But I'll say this: the one thing that stood out for me was how he's managed the squad. Because one thing that Pochettino and even previous managers, to be fair on Pochettino, were abysmal at doing was keeping this squad fit and rushing players back into contention when we shouldn't have been rushing them back and then suffering again long term. Maresca, sometimes he can be overcautious, but he's used the squad depth well. And I think that he's used, although yes, we've had one or two additions, I think he's used the squad depth a lot better than the previous managers have. And you can see that in the sense of Europe, we've got one team that play. Premier League, we've got another team that play. And I think the way he's also relayed that understanding to those players and communicated with them is effective. Because if a manager is not communicating effectively enough to their players, some are going to be unhappy and not understand why they're not playing in certain competitions. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So like it might be all well and good that okay, cool, I'm getting minutes in the in the Europa or whatever it is, but what about the Premier League? That's bread and butter. When am I going to break into the Premier League? So the manager's turning around and say, listen, this is a competition that we should be winning. Go out there and win that and earn your reward. Like nothing's given to you, everything's earned over here. This is Chelsea Football Club, and I think that he's relayed that well. Another thing that I think has come in is players are now starting to take self accountability for themselves for their own bad
Hmm.
performances instead of
Hmm.
blaming other people and external sources. And this is a valuable thing that's just a life lesson. If you could learn to internalize things and look at yourself before you look at others, you're going to improve as a person regardless. And I think that we've seen that across the whole squad. Nico
Hmm.
Jackson the other day when he came off, a lot of people said, "Oh, he's being petulant, he's this and that and the other." No, you don't
Hmm.
understand. Like, if unless you've played and you always want to strive to be at your top level, when you have a bad game and you've been hooked off and you know that you could have done better or perhaps you could have contributed more if you had stayed on longer, it's gonna hurt you. And some people
Hmm.
reflect in different ways. I've certainly been in situations like Nico Jackson, obviously not at that level, but I've definitely know what it feels like to come off the bench, after perhaps we should be winning, we're not, we lose the game or whatever, or I don't score a goal, or I don't assist or whatever. I'm annoyed, but that's a positive because you're reflecting internally. on yourself,
Yeah,
knowing that you can do better. I think those things, that mentality that he's brought into the squad, has been a massive uh, reason as to why we are where we are.
yeah, most definitely, because when you have a, this is the type of mentality I love to see, because when you have a striker where see everybody else come work their socks off, including you, because you did do a few bits, but everyone could agree it wasn't your best game. When you see everybody else do bits, fi slap up Tottenham,
Hmm.
brother, after
Hmm.
coming 2 goals down, and you really, and when you reflect the last season when you scored a hat trick and a header in both away and home legs, and you contributed barely nothing. And you know your touch was off because his touch was off, his dribbling was off, his vision
Yeah,
was
yeah,
off, and his shooting was off in that match. So when you know you had an off day, which again, someone that's supposed to be your bread and butter, your fruit, like Tottenham's are his whipping boys,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
for him to not do anything, I totally get it. But the mentality he showed against Brentford was top tier for me.
I
I
love that too. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely love this mentality. He switched off for the easy tapping, but guess what he did? Picks up gets the ball from Enzo, or drives at his defender,
What a
shifts
finish
him.
as well, by the way.
What a finish, brother! That is a striker's finish,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So his development has been great, and it's all I'm gonna give majority down to Maresca. Maresca is working with him. We've seen this man in shooting drills for the first time in a year, right? So, so when I see people like Jackson improvement, it gives me hope, and I can hand on heart say with definitive, positive, full of energy, I back Mariska. So when the hard times come, me know say yo, I can trust you. If the club wants to go on a long term tenureship with you, I can go with that, because guess what? When you have a manager that can want to improve what he has,
Yep,
it's not crying out for transfers every 5 minutes,
yep.
can make tactical tweaks to get the best out of players, even if those players are playing outside of their position. And four, which is my which is the best thing that Mariska does for me. He makes subtle changes that have a big impact
Yes.
versus people like Pep who make big changes but have subtle impact, have no impact at all. So
Hmm.
that's one of the biggest things for me. And these in-game tweaks, when you talk about when the managers that I like, right? Not necessarily the flashy ones, not necessarily the tiki taka ones. When you look at people like Inzaghi, when you look at people like Ancelotti, who's my goat, by the way, when you look at people like Zidane, they let ballers ball, but they have a one, they have a few. All of them have a philosophy in mind. One, they have a base style of play. Whenever when shit hits the fan, when everything goes wrong, please remember the base style of play, and revert back to that. If I'm not on the
Yep.
sideline, you know what to revert to,
Revert.
right?
Yep.
Yep. All of them have that. All of them have that. But you know what they have? They have the tactical nose to say, you know what? I'm gonna let the squad play when it calls for it, and I'm gonna step in with tactical changes when changes when it calls for it. And that's one of my biggest win with Mariska, because he's showing that game in game out.
Yeah, he is. And do you know what else I love about him is his selection of players. He likes technical players, and I'm a technique junkie because you see
Hmm.
you see the more technical you are, you can play in every kind of way, every single kind of way, and we've got the players to do so. Listen, Jadon Sancho, man,
Sancho
Manchester.
Lini, Sancho Dino, Sancho
If I was a
Vino.
Manchester United fan right now, I would be fuming. I'd be absolutely livid. How you let a technical monster like that join Cole Palmer and Neto and these guys? You must be absolutely crazy, and you didn't see this coming. This is right,
Bro,
bro. You see, when I saw Jadon Sancho coming to Chelsea, right? The first thing I thought in my head, if the price tag is gonna be astronomical, maybe it's not the right move. Then I said 25 million
um,
today, now. Bring
and
it in.
when they said guaranteed top 14, top
Yep.
14,
Yep.
Yeah, right now. I don't care if we don't use him. Just get him on the books.
And he took more than half of a pay cut to join Chelsea. You realize that he's like, if he signs permanently,
Vibes.
he's taking a big pay cut to join us.
Yep.
And
Should have
and
came here from day one.
he did, but it's no secret. Sancho's always been a Chelsea fan. He's
Yeah.
always been a Chelsea fan. He's a South London boy. You know what I mean? So he's been a Chelsea fan. That's no secret. And you can see how much he appreciates playing for the club. And on top of that, a manager that actually trusts him to go out there and do the business. Because let's have it right. Let's go back to that Tottenham game, bruv. He was the one. He was a main spark in rekindling the comeback. He scored the first goal. But look at the
Yeah.
nature of how he scored the first goal. You know
Yo,
what I mean? Yeah.
people don't kill me. When he picked up the ball, split the two defenders, and started to drive at Tottenham, that was
Mhm.
Hazard-esque for me.
It
I'm not
was.
making comparison, but I'm like, Hazard, is that you? You know? And after he whipped it, he was the catalyst for everything good that happened after that. Him and
Yes.
Enzo.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. But look, man, this manager has got the best Caicedo I think I've ever seen at Chelsea. And I think currently, I'm saying this with chest. To me, he's the best performing midfielder in the Premier League right now. I can say that with chest. He
Brawling,
is
brother. Facts.
absolutely phenomenal. What a player. And to those of you that think that he's just great at interceptions, you're not watching close enough. Because his ability to start the transition of attack is very much underrated. His vision is top notch. He's also, like, even going back to the defensive aspect. Look at how many times he broke up play in the final third or close to the final third against Brentford. That is one of the main reasons why we dominated. And what's growing in his game is his ability now to sniff danger and to time his tackles better too. Because that's what
Yep.
we used to worry about with Caicedo, was the red cards, the yellow cards, the bad timing of tackles. He's now improved that drastically. And I think this is a case of, very similar to Jackson, but on a lower scale, because I still think there was a little bit of quality there in Caicedo, which is why I never gave up on him under Poch. But
Hmm.
the jump from the quality we saw from Caicedo last season
To
to
now,
what we're
another
seeing
big jump,
is
bro.
another parabolic jump. Do you know what I mean? Because these performances are out of this world. Absolutely out of this world. You've even
Bro,
got Liverpool fans and Arsenal fans saying, you know what, Chelsea, fair play, Yeah, he is
hmm.
what you man said he is. You get me?
bro,
So,
bro. Another thing you kind of escaped, you kind of missed, right? His ability, he's 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 hinting at the ability to win the ball further up field. You see, when he perfects that, we will be a problem. And when
yes.
I say a problem, I mean a serious problem.
Yeah.
The goal we conceded, he lost the ball from being further upfield, from trying to wing the ball further upfield.
Yeah.
If we could perfect that ability for him and have Lavia in the side sitting a bit
I
deeper,
was about to
bro, a
say,
problem.
yep.
Let me tell us a problem. Because you spoke about the jump for Caicedo. You remember last season when I don't remember which game, but this remember stands out. This image stands out clear as day. He picked up the ball from the goalkeeper, no, from the right back, from the left back, and he turned and he passed it right into an attacking player, and
Yeah.
everybody was
Yeah.
head lost. And then while everybody was head lost, I was looking at it and wondering why did he do that. And then when I look at the previous season when he was at Brighton, he was playing under a system at Brighton where he would pick up the ball, when he would get the ball, it would be a one-touch pass out. So there was no system around him. He was just playing, trying to
Hmm.
cover multiple fires at once, and only one man could have survived in that type of scenario, which was Gallagher in that specific
Yeah.
area of the
Yeah.
field. You put Caicedo in a system, you give him a baseline to work off of, and this is the version you're getting,
One hundred
right?
percent. 100%. And I think I love Lavia. Lavia's my boy as well. That's another one I said not to sell, because I advocated for this guy to come to Chelsea strong when he was at Southampton. The videos are still on my channel. Actually, I've always liked Lavia, and aside from the niggling injuries that he's had, um, I think he's also been crucial to the improvement of Caicedo as well, because when you've got somebody like Lavia you can trust to, receive the ball from your centre backs or whatever, who is as press resistant as he is. Look, Lavia, I'll be honest, there's been a few times where he's lost the ball in front of the defence, but that's what happens to players in that position. You know what I mean? Where you pick up the ball most frequently is where you're most likely to lose it more frequently. It's just a rule of probability. Do you know what I mean? Where you are most, something's most likely is going to happen to you in that place. So same with Lavia, same principle all across the pitch. A winger's going to lose the ball more on the wing, or a striker's going to lose the ball more in the central position if that's where they're occupied. It's same rule. But aside from those few times, press resistance, his ability to play passes and break the lines. And Caicedo not always consistently having to, strain his
Mm,
muscles to get back and run as quickly as he can, because Lavia can also
mm.
do that job. I think it was it Tottenham where Lavia made the interception, got the ball. Yeah, it was. Lavia was the one that I think made the interception, got the ball out to Cole Palmer when he skidded them players, and then Enzo scored the goal. I believe it
Mm.
was Lavia that did win back possession. But if it's not
No,
that,
no, no,
I
it's not
think
Lavia. I
it
think it's
was
probably Kukurea.
somebody. Yeah, but there was an incident in one of those games where he did something similar, where something similar
It might
happened.
have
But
been
you see,
Aston Villa.
possibly, yeah, possibly. But we've seen it on more than one occasion. So that just goes to show, man. And the scary thing about Romeo is he's young. I don't even think he's 20
Bro,
yet or
he has
21.
to improve. We
He
could
does.
see, we could see another development jump under Lavia that we see for Caicedo.
Yeah.
Because, bro, I'm telling you, with a good run of games and him building that confidence, from what I've seen from Lavia so far in his press resistance,
It's
if
crazy, isn't it?
he improves, bro,
Mm-hmm.
I not even want to talk about it, bro, because we'd be a problem. We'd be a problem. There's one thing I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
that I saw on Twitter, yeah? Someone said that Bukayo Saka has two less tackles than Moses Caicedo. And he's talking about um this is your super DM, Chelsea super DM. So I laughed and I said, he think this is a flex. And then he's going to say, put it into perspective. Chelsea super DM has only two more tackles than Saka. Let me tell you something. Because clearly you don't understand football. Your winger is not supposed to be
Thank
at that
you.
level of tackles, right? In his system, right? You know what that says to me and any knowledgeable football fan? That's a
Mm-hmm.
failure of system and due diligence from the manager.
Yep.
Your winger is doing too much, which is negating from his game. And I'll say this now.
Yep.
If Saka was in a better system where he wasn't doing all of that, his productivity level would have been immense because he
Yeah.
would have less
Facts.
to do and he could focus more on his game. So that's why it's not a flex, bad man.
No, facts. Facts. I mean, there's not really much more that I could add to that. Well, except for the fact that, you know, it also could be a case of we have a lot of the possession in games too. Sometimes having to, and some coaches will turn around and will say, if you have to make a sliding tackle or an interception like that, it means you've made a mistake. So if you do want to look at it that way, that means we're making less mistakes than if you want to also analyze it like that. But either way, for me, that those numbers don't matter, because look, as well, it's the quality of interceptions that you're also making,
Yeah.
because if Caicedo is not necessarily making so many interceptions, but he's making key interceptions that are stopping
Mm,
key counter
yeah.
attacks and goals, I would rather he make those few than other
But
ones in other
but
areas of
Goni,
the pitch.
but Goni, I don't even want you to analyze it that deep for the people. Because I just double checked. It's tackles and duels one, right? So
Hmm.
even worse, duels one. I just want you to explain to the people why this is not a flex on Saka. If anything, it's an indictment on Saka because he shouldn't be topping that Arsenal team with duels one.
He shouldn't.
First of all, if you're competing for the title, your winger shouldn't have that amount of duels one.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And another thing is, which I think is the most important, is you're now exposing him to more injuries and long term injuries too. That's the key thing. And Saka's been a player. Remember, he's been very durable for his career. I don't think he's missed many games. But of recently, he's had to sit out a few. Not, I mean, not for long spells, but they're starting to creep up. 2 games, 1 game here and there, here and there. If you're not careful when you keep allowing him to do these things, it's one injury away from it becoming a problem, and nobody wants to see that. You see, me as a Chelsea fan, regardless of how much I dislike Arsenal, Tottenham, and all these other clubs, I never, ever, ever, ever wish injuries upon anybody. I do not. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you work hard, you dedicate your life to playing football. A lot of us didn't make it, but we still understand what it took to get there. So we don't want to see you get injured. We want to see players be able to have a long and fruitful career. Don't matter what club you play for. So that's the thing that you've definitely got to look out for in Bukayo Saka, because a big problem that you do have is if Saka is out with a long-term injury, you do not have the depth to replace him. Even if you
Thank you.
and even if he is injured, a player of that level and of that standard, it's not easy to replace that quality. So more
Yeah,
time out of 10, whoever's stepping in is going to be a drop off in quality, 100%. And you can't even guarantee to find yourself quality like that in the transfer market right now. So you better look after
exactly.
it. Yeah, you better look after Saka.
Bro, and a top manager, um, they're going to wrap. They would wrap him in wool and just have him stay further up the pitch.
Yeah,
You always use Saka as the outball, which they do. But
yeah.
all I'm saying is, you don't put Saka in that position. While he can do it, you
Hmm.
ask him to track back, yes. But if he's your most important player, he should not be
You
number
see
one for
that,
Arsenal in those
right?
one. That's nonsensical because you're exposing him. Okay, so you're asking him to give you what he gives you forward consistently and bail you out when he needs to. But you're also asking him to be one of a DM. You're also asking him to be one of your top DMs, bro. It's
Yeah, no,
absolutely
that's
nonsensical.
no, it's a fact. Now, there's games where that's called for. Let's say you're in the Champions League final or some kind of cup final when everyone's busting their every last ligament to make sure that trophy is coming home. That is a different and completely
That different, bro. That
understandable
different.
situation. Yeah,
Different
exactly.
conversation even.
Yeah, exactly. But week in, week out, no, no, you're absolutely wrong, and that is definitely a coaching problem, a big, big coaching problem.
Yeah, because them not they're not setting it up where you could get the best out of Saka. I genuinely believe he has levels to go. You
Yeah,
understand?
100%.
So yeah, we're not gonna turn this in our Arsenal show, but it's just something that stood out to me.
Yeah, it's
bro,
ridiculous
it's not a
coming in it.
flex. Yeah, it's not a flex. But yeah, who's winger conversation, winger talk?
Yeah.
Like, who's our best player on the wings?
Cole Palmer, right winger. On the right wing for me. I love Cole Palmer coming off that right. I know a lot of people don't agree with it, but I just think there's aspects in Cole Palmer's game that people overlook because of how he plays football. Like because he's not as quick as perhaps your Netos and all that and all them kind of players, he doesn't look as pleasing to the eye. But when you actually look at him play, he does beat players. And when Cole cuts in on that left foot and he's got that angle, he's dangerous. He's dangerous. Yes, I know. I know. Centrally, he does his magic as well, but I just feel like the amount of technical abundance that we've got behind that striker, everybody can alternate into whatever position and still do a good job. Do you know what I mean? Let's say if Sancho drifted into the middle and took that attacking mid for one phase of play, you know that he can pick a pass. You know that he can beat a player. You know that he's got the vision to do that. Let's say Cole Palmer goes into that middle and somebody goes out in the wing. You know Cole Palmer can do all of that kind of stuff. I like to see him. He's my favorite player coming off that wing. But if you want to ask me who's impressed me the most of the wing positions, definitely Jaden Sancho when he's on form. It's got to be Jaden
Mhm.
Sancho because his profile is a lot different to the other wingers. I call Jaden Sancho a playmaking winger. I think his creativity coming off that left channel is excellent. It's great. The little 1-2s before he gets into the box, and players are on the same wavelength as him because they're all technical football minding players. That's why that link up on that left side when he goes in and out in that box. He doesn't always make that correct decision. Sometimes he does need to shoot, but outside of that, I feel like he's a massive aspect as to why we can break down low blocks. He's valuable for that.
Mhm. So I'm hearing Palmer on the right and Jaden on the left.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
who you putting in the
and
10
Daniel.
position? Felix or Nkunku? These are the headaches you want, bro. Not the ones from last season.
Bro, but okay, so now based on what you just said now, right? I would have I would have Sancho on that left, Palmer in that middle, and then I'd have Neto on the right.
You see? Now you change your mind. That's
I
a,
have to change my mind when you bring up that personnel. I do. But let's say perhaps in the future, I'm not going to mention names, but let's say we sign a number 10 from Bayern Munich, then maybe you can see Cole Palmer going off
I'm
that
leaving.
on that right.
Bro, let it go. He's not coming back. Leave it alone. He's not coming back. Let it go, bro. Let it go.
I
Musiala is
refuse.
not coming back, bro. Stop believing.
I can't stop. I'm holding on. I'm holding on. I'm holding on. I'm holding
Bro.
on. He's not signed the TIG yet. But yeah, but that would be it. Look, Musiala's in Germany. Forget about him. So for me, right now, Palmer would have to hold the 10. And I feel like just not having Neto in that structure and having João Felix in there would be a bit criminal, to be honest. I'm not saying João Felix is a terrible player, but I think Neto for me is a lot more effective on the wing than what João Felix is for me on the pitch. I just feel that way.
Listen, Palmer in that 10, after the level of passing I see he can deliver from the season, just
Yeah.
put him in the 10 in the right half space where he's still on the wing somewhat,
Hmm.
but he's gonna drift inside.
Yeah.
Leave it there, and I'm fine. What are your thoughts on the Madueke versus Neto debate? Because Madueke is another one that has improved from
Improved.
last season.
Uh huh. Uh huh. He has improved, and it's healthy. I'm happy this debate's being had because when we signed Neto, I said to myself, "Is that it for Madueke? There's no way he's going to be able to keep up with this player's performances." And to be fair, he's done his thing. He's done his thing. So it's a healthy conversation to have. I mean, to have him currently mixing it up with Neto, I think is also bringing out the best in him because he's now realizing, well, if I decide to, if I if around, I've got this Portuguese guy that can come in and do a job, and he's already starting to get comfortable with the team. So there's no time to slouch. So I think that's also helped him. But it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen going forward because we've got Esteval coming in. That's going to be
Mhm.
interesting. So let's see. But so far, Madueke has exceeded my expectations. That's for sure. 100%.
Mhm.
He's performed well this season.
Yeah, and while we're on the winger topic, I guess we kind of have to touch on it.
Yeah.
The news behind Mikhailo Mudryk.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts of him being found guilty for
Did did
tested
did,
positive for the drugs
did
for the
the B
performance
sample
that as a
did the
drug?
B sample come back?
No, no, no. Just your initial thoughts on the A sample.
I mean, yeah. So basically, my thoughts on something like this is apparently it's we don't know yet until we get back the B sample. But from what we hear, usually if there's a trace in the A sample, more times out of 10, there isn't a B sample. Now, I've seen things online like Mudryk has gone to take a lie detector test and he passed the lie detector test and so on and so forth, and all kinds of rumors. And with situations like this, the best thing that we can do is just we have to wait and see what the
Wait.
verdict is because until then, everything is speculation. We don't know any facts. He's not going to be allowed to say anything based on illegal counsel and so on and so forth. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this transpires because if I start throwing out accusations and saying this, that, and the other, and he turns out to be not guilty, I'm going to feel bad. And on top of that, I'm going to feel like a prick. So with situations like this, my go-to is usually just wait and see what happens, what evidence is presenting forward, and what the punishment is, if there even is a punishment. So let's just wait and see. Remember, at the end of the day, people, no matter how you feel about him, he's still Chelsea. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
he is innocent until proven 100%
Guilty.
guilty, and that's not been the case yet until that B sample comes back. So let's respect that at least.
Yeah, and maybe that's why we get along so well, Goodney, because I share the exact same sentiment. Like the bag of talking, the bag of speculation means nothing until we
Hmm.
hear the final verdict.
Yeah,
Right?
that's it.
I know people are saying even if he tested the lie detector test and he came out where he was telling the truth and he genuinely didn't know about it, that's not in the rules. The rules don't care if you were basically set up, essentially. It's in your system and you should be more aware of what you're taking into your system. And I genuinely feel in that regard the rules are harsh, but we will see. I reserve to judge make any judgment or any comments on this.
Hmm.
Um until we see the final verdict. That's after the B sample, and that's after the verdict has been given. Because I'm mostly concerned on how it affects Chelsea and how it impacts Chelsea going forward. Because people are going to say, "Oh, he's not playing, so it doesn't impact it." Yes, it will. What if now the club says, "Okay, we need another left winger. We need another left winger." That's spending money that we probably wouldn't have to in the summer.
Could have to,
You
yeah,
see, so
gonna have to.
it's going to affect us in some way.
Hmm.
You understand? So
No,
that's pretty much it.
one hundred
Yeah,
percent, man.
yeah. Gunii, I know you gotta go, so I'm gonna wrap it here. People, thank you for joining us on the Fan Hustle podcast. Thank you. I think this episode should be out before the Shamrock Rovers game. It should be a comfortable win. Joshua Chempang and Tyreek George made it to the first 11, so let me give them a quick round of applause. And that really quick round of applause. And that's another thing we see with Enzo Maresca as well. Bro, I know you gotta go, but I have to make this point.
That's cool. Go on,
This
go
is
ahead,
what
go ahead.
happened. This is what happens when you put your structure in play. Once your structure is in play and the team gets going, when this team starts playing better, you get to integrate players from the youth squad because they've been used to your system already. Integration
Yes,
from the youth squad is a lot easier when they understand the system because the system trickles down from the top to the second team,
to
to the
the
C
second,
team,
yeah,
to the
all the
youth
way
team.
through, all the way through. Yeah, that's
So
correct.
people, absolutely. But we're gonna wrap it up. Please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. There will not be a Shamrock Rovers review because supposed to win. I'm calling a 2-0 win. And
Mhm.
we wrap up the conference league and we move. Um yeah, I don't know if Goonie wants to join me for our Everton preview. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll have an Everton preview and I promise you people the next episode of the Sideline View will drop next week. I have the episode already, it was recorded, but the audio made me so like I am Megatron, and I'm not going to upload that. Thank you for joining us. Peace.
Yeah, man. Peace, peace.